The Obeid scandal is very much an ALP affair, centred on former State Labor Minister Eddie Obeid. But the reputation of federal Liberal Senator Arthur Sinodinos risks being tarnished by association. He was chairman of Australian Water Holdings, a company linked to the Obeid family. Now, Fairfax has reported that a new corruption inquiry into the company is scheduled to begin early next year.
Well, look, I think obviously there should be a zero tolerance for corruption, and obviously there is a new inquiries broken by Fairfax today into Australian Water Holdings. Obviously, there is a connection with Senator Arthur Sinodinos, and so there could well be questions for him to answer. That will play out through the inquiry, and obviously one would expect anyone that is called before those inquiries or is required to actually front up to those inquiries and actually answer any of those questions. Obviously, there's concerns from the Liberal Party. Reports today that he wasn't promoted to Cabinet because of concerns about that. So, look, there's obviously some concerns out there that are being reported. My point would be that he needs to make sure he's fully answering the questions that may come up before the inquiry, and that process will obviously go through the normal channels. But one would expect that he would answer all the questions about the goings-on of that are before the inquiry.
How much of a concern is that for the government, and should Senator Sinodinos stand aside from his ministerial position while these corruption inquiries are conducted?
Well, Senator Sinodinos is an incredibly competent and capable individual. No one could argue against that. As John Howard's Chief of Staff, he was one of the most significant policy contributors to the former coalition government, and certainly I think you can't argue his credentials in his role. I think he provides an enormous asset to the nation and to the government in terms of delivering on those big policy changes. The story you talk about broke last night. I think there is 3 inquiries is my understanding, and let's see what comes of that. But as you rightly pointed out, Eddie Obeid is not a coalition MP. Eddie Obeid is certainly wholly owned and contracted by the Labor Party, and I think that let's see where these new inquiries go. But I think no one can question the positive contribution that Senator Sinodinos is making to the new government, making to the Parliament and making to the nation.
But he was chair of a company controlled by the Obeids. There is the issue of fact, but there's also the issue of perception. Does the government have to make sure that it's not perceived to be giving Senator Sinodinos any kind of special protection?
Well, we have very high standards, and I think that anyone that holds public office must meet the high standards, and we are judged not only by the rules of the Parliament or the rules that the Prime Minister puts in place in terms of ministerial conduct, but also in the court of public opinion. And I think that's fair and just. This story only broke last night. Let's see where those 3 inquiries go. I think there's some questions around timelines as well. You mentioned Senator Sinodinos being a chair of a company. I think that might have happened around the day that Eddie Obeid bought shares. So to be honest with you, I think let's see where those inquiries go. But as I said, we are all judged by our own standards and also in the court of public opinion.